So I'm going to teach you 2 simple gap trading strategies that have changed my life. It's changed many people's lives within Trader Society. And the beauty of this strategy is you can use it both ways, long and short. You can use it on calls and puts. You can use it on stocks. You can use it on options. And it's a trend reversal strategy. What that means is you're going to be buying the calls, buying the stock at the exact low right before the stock reverses and right before the new trend is set. You're also going to be shorting the top and getting in right before the stock crashes to short the stock to buy the puts. How is that possible? You're probably thinking that's crazy. Well, if you watch the playlist that I made for you guys, which is the second link down below, you would now be aware that this is the 5th day in a row where the strategy worked and SPY had another gap close reversal. And you're probably wondering, well, Will, did you end up trading that? Of course I did. I ended up buying calls right here at 11:01 a.m. at the low of day on SPY. And people bought the calls right before me. I want to give a big shout out to Top G. I alerted this in real time within Trader Society that I bought the calls and I made a quick 20% win. It was a great scalp. Top G got in before me. We have a lot of traders who are anonymous because the lucrative opportunity about trading is you can be private and live a very wealthy life. You don't have to flex on social media. So with that being said, in terms of my key levels, this was the plan that I posted in the pre-market, and I'm going to teach you how this strategy works step by step. This was the analysis that I ended up giving out. The SPY has gapped up. Will, what is a gap up? A gap up is when a stock opens up higher than the previous closing price. So the SPY ended up previously closing yesterday at $400.35, right? So if the stock opens up higher than it previously closed, that means that there's a gap that's waiting to fill below. And when it hits that white line, that previous closing price, that means that the gap fills and the gap closes. And the reason why we care about that is the stock can potentially have a reversal once the gap is closed. And I'm going to show you how you can identify and confirm that it's going to have a reversal. So this was my mindset and mentality going into the pre-market. This is what I had to say. The new key level is $400.35. There's a gap to fill below at $435, which is previous resistance. SPY has been having reversals at the gap levels, at the previous closing levels for 4 days in a row. You could have used the strategy and banked both ways on calls and puts. If you watch the playlist, link down below, second link in the description. In order to buy calls at the gap, you're going to want to look for a floor. You're going to want to look for support, the bullish confirmations, right? I ended up alerting in real time that I bought calls. We were on the channel within the Discord. I called this out in real time voice, no stream delays. If you're on Discord voice, there's no typing delay. There's no live stream delay. It's 100% in real time. I was on the voice channel. I called it out. Not that I needed to, because the opportunity of being a part of Trader Society is you can be self-sufficient. You can learn how to trade. All of the education is in the program. You don't need me. I gave out the analysis. I taught you guys the strategy. You don't need me to execute the strategy. The opportunity is greater than that. So Will, how does this strategy work? How do we start using this strategy? So let's get into it. What you're going to want to do is take a look at SPY. SPY ended up having a massive gap up. Here's what you're going to want. You're going to want the SPY to have a massive gap up. The bigger the gap, the better. Here's how I want you to think. If the SPY has a massive gap up, there's this strategy. If you go and Google it, if you go and YouTube it, you're going to see it's called a gap and go. Will, what's a gap and go? A gap and go is when a stock gaps up and people buy the breakout. They think it's bullish because it's gapping up and it's up because of some sort of news, or it's just on heavy volume, whatever the reason is, right? They think it's bullish. Oh, the good news is out, or whatever it may be. Oh, SPY's gapping up. It's time to buy calls. No, this is what you do. You wait for those people. You wait for the bag holders to get created. What you need to understand is money is transferred from the impatient to the patient people, and you can profit off of people's misfortunes in the market, right? That's how the money's made. So the impatient people buy the stock when it gaps up, when it's high and when it's overbought. They buy high and they sell for a peanut, and they're exposed to massive losses and massive risk because the gap that's waiting to fill below can potentially fill. So here's what I do differently. I don't use the gap and go strategy. So the gap and go strategy is when a stock gaps up, you go long, you buy the breakout. When a stock gaps down, you go short and you hope for it to go lower. I don't do that. Here's what I do differently, and here's what I teach. I wait for the stock to fill the gap. If it doesn't fill the gap, then I don't trade it. Gaps tend to fill. I don't care when it fills. When it fills, it's going to fill. I'll set my price alert and I'll be ready. Once that price alert triggers, I have a trading system. I'll click on my price alert. I'll be notified via email, via text. It triggers. Okay, Will, your price alert triggers. Now what? this is what you're going to want. You're going to want an overreaction to the downside. SPY was at $404, right? So this had a massive gap up, a massive breakout above previous resistance. Your previous roof, your previous resistance was at $400 and $404. So here's how I want you to think, and this is how the wealth is created, right? If SPY's going to have a massive gap up and a massive move to the upside, if this instantly drops 4 points very, very quickly and sells off and hits the gap, the most probable situation in terms of the high probability trade would be to be buying at the gap for a reversal, to be buying at the lows, because it had a massive sell-off. It's oversold for the short term, and for the micro, stocks can have reversals at the gap and initial reactions. This is the key. Your previous resistance was at $400. You had a massive move to the upside. So if SPY breaks above resistance, right, and that previous resistance is at that gap level, it's going to try to bounce initially because it had a massive breakout. If you see a stock have a massive breakout above resistance and there's a gap waiting to fill below at that previous resistance at $400, the most likely probability of the trade is to buy the calls, to buy the dip, right? That's what we do differently. What I want you to understand is the people who are using the gap and go strategy and who are buying calls when the stock gaps up and they're not waiting to fill the gap, these are the same people who are bag holding. And guess what? The ones who are bag holding, when they're down big, guess who they're selling to? They're selling to the sharks, the people who are buying these calls, pennies on the dollar, getting wealthy because they were patient and they waited to trade the best setup at the best price. We're not hoping for a breakout. We're putting ourselves in the most probable situation possible. If SPY has a massive breakout above resistance and it retests that previous resistance and it's a huge quick overreaction to the downside and it closes that gap, that is the most probable trade to buy the calls. Would you want to buy puts right here when it's at previous resistance and puts already printed at 404, right? So that's the game. Now, how can you confirm that that's bullish? What you're going to want to do is use candlesticks. I don't use indicators. One of the traders in the chat told me to not buy calls when it filled the gap because the MACD was bearish. I told him I don't use indicators. I use candlesticks. What I do is I use candlesticks. This right here is a bullish trend reversal pin. I bought calls right after that 1 minute candle opened because this is a bullish trend reversal pin and it was already starting to spike at the gap. You want more confirmations? SPY's breaking out. It's spiking above the gap. It pulls back. Another bullish trend reversal candlestick. If you watched my video last night, we spoke about the Dragonfly Dojis. This is the best confirmation right here. If SPY's at the previous closing price at support, like it is, and it has this Dragonfly trend reversal doji candlestick, you buy the calls. That's what I do. I use the candlesticks. I'm trying to identify if a floor is forming, if support is forming, if it's breaking out and then pulls back, I'm buying into that pullback at the previous closing price as well because it had a nice breakout already. It's already proven it's forming a floor, it's breaking out, it's forming bullish trend reversal candlesticks. These are all confirmations for calls. This is a confirmation for calls, bullish pin. This is a confirmation for calls because it already had a breakout and formed a bullish pin. This is a confirmation for calls because it had a Dragonfly Doji. I'm doing this with the 1 minute and the 5 minute chart with the gap close reversal strategy. So that's the game. And in terms of how I trade, I scalp. I get in and I get out very, very quickly and I go at the money strikes. So if SPY's at $400.35, I will go at $400 calls. I'll go with at the money or barely out of the money strikes. That's what I'm doing. And in terms of, well, Will, where's the price target? Well, if you look right here, your previous overall support was at $401.40. My target was right at 401.40. I sold as soon as it hit 401. As soon as I sold, it dropped right back to the gap. I could have got back in. If you see it retest that gap and it hasn't touched that previous support, you can get back in off a bullish trend reversal strategy, right? So those are the basics to the strategy. It gets more advanced. Now what I'm going to teach you is I'm going to teach you another strategy. This is a strategy that I used to use a lot. I used to use it with small cap stocks all the time, and I would mainly use it for short selling. It's called a gap fill strategy. So you're probably wondering, well, Will, if SPY gaps up or SPY gaps down, how can you take advantage if it starts to have a reversal? And how can we take advantage of this gap filling before it closes this gap? How can we take advantage of this move to the downside? I'm going to share with you this is what you're going to want to do. This is called a gap fill strategy. So I just shared with you some of the basics to the gap close reversal strategy. Now I'm going to share with you some of the basics to the gap fill strategy. The gap fill strategy is when a stock is trying to fill the gap. So if SPY gaps up and it flips bearish, it's going to start to try to fill the gap. You're playing for the gap to fill, right? So how do you use that strategy? This is what you do. You wait for the stock to have a massive sell-off, right? So what this is called shorting previous support that's expected to react as a resistance level. Take a look. The SPY had support at $403. It was trading in a 1-point channel. 403 is support, 404 is resistance, right? So your top is here, your floor is here. You're going to want to wait for the channel to develop. Once you see that a channel is developing on a stock that gaps up, this is what you do. When it cracks that support, wait for it to have a massive pullback, right? It cracks support. It had a massive pullback. Okay, it's bearish. It's starting to fill the gap. Do we buy puts at the lows towards this dip right here? No, this is what you do. It's proven bearish because it cracks support. It reacted as a resistance. If you wanted to, you could have tried to put right here before the massive crash, but this is one way to do it. Wait for the stock to collapse. Don't wait for it to fill the gap though. That's the other strategy. Wait for the stock to have a massive pullback. Now that it's had a massive pullback, wait for the stock to instantly shoot right back up to the previous support. Once it retests this previous support, it's likely to react as a resistance. Why? Because it already crashed and there's a gap to fill below. That is why. And in terms of other reasons of history tends to repeat itself. Take a look at this trend on the SPY. This is a 5-day trend that nobody else has taught you, and it was the best way to trade the SPY, and you could have used this with other stocks. Look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA had a beautiful gap close reversal today. As soon as NVIDIA filled the gap, it began to have a reversal. Bullish candlesticks, all confirmations to buy calls. You're getting in at the best price possible, right? So take a look at this, man. And this is why I want you to watch that playlist, because we're hitting these every single day. In terms of the strategy, it tends to play out 3 to 5 times a week with the SPY. If you use it on stocks, there's a lot more opportunities, but it's more advanced than this. I'm putting you onto the foundation, into some of the basics, right? Now, with that being said, let's take a look at the trend. What I'm doing is I'm capturing trends with this strategy. I am well aware that the SPY has had gap close reversals for 4 days in a row. So at the 5th day, I'm going to look to play reversals because the win rate is in the reversals. My win rate is so high because I'm using confirmations of history repeating itself. The SPY is consistently having reversals at the gap. So I'm going to put my money where the odds are in my favor, right? So take a look at this. This is the strategy. And watch the playlist link down below. So right here, SPY has a gap up. It fills the gap. Right? It starts to form a floor. It forms the bullish confirmation. I bought the calls. It's in the live trading video. Go back and watch it on my channel, right? And I scalp. I get in and I get out. And if you've noticed, when the SPY closes these gaps and has reversals, it tends to set the trend for the day in terms of the past 5 days. It's not going to do that all the time, but this is a rule that we have in Trader Society. If a stock is having a gap close reversal where it fills the gap and it begins to have a reversal and it starts to set the new trend, we never bet against it. If anything, we look for opportunities to go with the trend. And the best opportunities for calls with the trend would be big dips. When the bulls are fearful and the bears are greedy, big dips, right? When it looks bearish, that would be the best way to be buying the calls. Here we go again. The SPY gaps up. It hits the previous closing price. It forms a floor, right? Bullish confirmations. So if it looks bullish and it's forming a floor, you buy the calls. Now, here's what some people do. They already have a bias before, right? So we were already long biased before because it had such an overreaction to the downside, a 4-point drop very, very quickly, which means the probable calls is to be buying the calls. And it was at previous resistance. I was already sold on the idea for calls. If you're already sold on the idea for calls with you don't need a confirmation. You can literally just buy it at the best price possible. For example, if you were to buy it under the gap before it started reacting bullish, you would have the best entry. So one strategy, and this is what Top G did, he got in a minute before me. He ended up buying when the SPY was literally red. It flips red to green very, very quickly. He bought red. And the reason why he did that is he valued a better entry than a confirmation. That's more advanced. Some people in certain situations would much rather get in when it looks bearish because they're already bullish and they already know they're buying at the best price possible. And if it starts to go against them quickly, they just get stopped out. And the reason why they do that is they know the entry is everything. Because if you're buying a little bit higher, your stop loss is going to be lower. Your stop loss is going to be lower than the guy who bought before you when it looked more bearish, right? So some people value a better stop loss without a confirmation. And there's ways to have confirmations without confirmations. Well, Will, how do you have a confirmation to even buy the calls before it looks bullish and you just buy when it looks bearish under the gap? How do you even do that, Will? Like I said, Overreaction to the downside. It instantly sold off 4 points and it already started spiking towards the gap. It was already ripping. And previous resistance is likely to react as a support the first time it is tested when the SPY has a massive rip. So that's the game that I'm putting you on, man. So you have to ask yourself a question. When a stock gaps up, do you want to try to aim for a little crumb? Do you want to put yourself in an incompetent situation where you're buying at the exact top, selling for a potential loss? Or do you just want to wait for the gap to fill below? And once the gap fills, you play for the reversal, right? That's the game, man. And then even right here, if SPY flips bearish, cracks support, and starts to sell off to fill the gap, if it instantly shoots back up to the previous support, that is an opportunity to short and play the puts and start to bet on this gap to fill below, because the SPY already flipped bearish, it already crashed, it already started to fill the gap. So if it's going to instantly spike right back up to previous support, that is your entry to buy puts, because previous support is now proven resistance and it had a massive crash. That's why you're not waiting to buy at 404. You're waiting for the support to crack, and when it has a massive drop and flips bearish and starts to fill the gap, then you are buying those puts when it retests that previous support and looks a little bearish. That's the game, man. So I taught you the gap fill strategy. I taught you the gap close reversal strategy, and those are the basics. And look, you can use this on the short side. The SPY ended up gapping down. As soon as it went back to that previous resistance, it filled the gap and it began to have a reversal. It's all in the candlesticks, man. You don't need indicators with this strategy. We're trading the chart. That's what we're doing differently here. For those of you who aspire to trade like me, what I want you to understand is if you want to aspire to trade like me, it's all within trading the chart. I'm analyzing the gap trading strategies, gap close reversal, and the gap fill strategy. The gap fill strategy, I used to use it a lot. I've noticed that I kind of went all in on gap close reversals and I stopped focusing on the gap fill strategy. But now that I realize it's an amazing strategy, and this has also led to my success. So I'm going to start using two strategies. I'm going to use the gap fill strategy and I'm going to use the gap close reversal strategy. My favorite one is the gap close reversal, but the gap fill strategy is a phenomenal strategy. And I used to use that with small cap stocks all the time, because every single time they gapped up, they would just rocket back down to fill the gap below. It was classic sell the news, right? So that's the game, man. What you need to understand is the impatient people are buying at the top in hopes of a breakout. They're getting in at the worst entry possible. They're buying when something's inflated on thin air. And what we're doing is we're profiting off of their impatience in misfortune. The reason why they're so misfortunate is they're putting themselves in a situation where they're buying extremely high for very little potential profit with massive downside. So all the bag holders who are getting stuck holding here are going to be the guys who are selling to us because they're down, they're panic selling, they're down big, they don't want to keep holding. They sell to us, man. And trust me, there's always going to be people who sell to us. There's always going to be people who sell those calls to us. No matter how many people learn this strategy, there's always going to be people who sell the calls to us at the lows when they're pennies on the dollar. And then we start selling into the spikes, into the rips. Those are the basics of the strategies. As you can see, there's a lot you can do to add on to the strategy if you're trying to hold longer. But the SPY favored the reversals every single day. Even right here, it had a massive gap down. If SPY is a massive gap down, I played puts in the chat yesterday as soon as it filled the gap. I had no stress. I didn't play puts here. I didn't play puts here at the lows. I was playing calls on all these dips. I told people, want to play puts? Wait for the previous closing price. And there's people that argue with me saying, well, what if it doesn't hit the previous closing price? I want to trade. I want to gamble. I told them, no, that's not the strategy. Listen, wait for the previous closing price to hit. If it doesn't hit, then you don't enter the trade. Gaps tend to fill over time. If it's not going to fill today, it either has to go up or down. And there's gaps to fill above on SPY on the daily, and there's gaps to fill below on SPY on the daily. One of the gaps has to hit, so use the strategy. Now, in terms of some other things that I would like you to focus on with this strategy is, I want you to focus on oversold levels and overbought levels. If the SPY is extremely oversold, right here on the daily, there's a gap all the way filled down or low. I got all my price alerts set, right, man, we're ahead of the game. So if it, if it fills a gap that's waiting to fill below at an oversold level on the daily or an oversold level on the weekly channel, those are good opportunities for calls because it's oversold. If it fills the gap that's waiting to fill above at the higher end of the channel like it did right here, and I swing trade puts right here and banked, those are opportunities for puts, right? We've been against puts for all these days, man. I've been laughing at bears. I've literally been telling, if you want to play the puts, wait for the previous closing price. The time to play puts was right here when it filled the gap. These 0 date expirations are going up 20 to 50%, right? So those are some of the basics to the strategy. I want you to focus on oversold and overbought. I want you to focus on overreactions. This is a perfect reaction. If SPY has a massive breakout and it instantly collapses 4 points, the most likely action, like I said, within the pre-market, if you go right here to the key levels, as I stated in the pre-market, this is what I had to say. If the gap at $400.34 is for calls, right here I said, yes, the initial reaction should be a bounce because it's at the previous resistance, which is $400, which they will try to react it as support on the initial reaction, right? Since it had a massive breakout. Also because the SPY has had 4 gap reversals in a row. Every single time it gapped up or gapped down the past 4 days, now 5, it had a reversal. That's why the likely opportunity was to buy calls at the gap. It is oversold. It's a big overreaction to the downside. Previous resistance is going to attempt to react to support, which is what we saw. And that's the game, man. We advised against puts for the entire day today, and I told people to focus on calls on the dips, right? I understand you could be buying these dips and banking all day, but the best entry is at the gap. And if you want to, you can trade at higher prices and try buying the dips. It printed all day and the strategy worked. The trend was set, right? I just mainly focus on buying at the gap close reversal. The other trades are not at the best prices, but they are the best setups. And as I told my team and prepared them within the trading tips, as you could see right here, this is one of our rules, and this is something that you have to write down, right? When a stock, remember this rule, this is a tenet to trading, when a stock closes the gap, and if it has a reversal, once the gap fills, the new trend is being set. Do not bet against the new trend, right? So if SPY gaps up, it fills the gap, it starts to reverse, the new trend is being set to bullish. Do not buy puts. Focus on calls on big dips. The money is made within the gap strategy. Do not bet against the gap close reversal strategy. That would have saved you on all these people buying and chasing puts. Not us. We're not YOLOing. We're not swing trading for the fences. I have a very strategic strategy for swing trading, and that's very strategic, and I wait patiently for those opportunities. The easiest trades, man, are the gap trading strategies and the day trading opportunities and the scalps. This is stress-free. So with that being said, if you want to be a part of Trader Society, this is going to be the first link down below in the description. Once you join Trader Society, it's a one-time fee. You get lifetime access to it. We have members who are making back multiple the cost of what I charge for a lifetime in their first week. We had one member today turn $160 into over $2,000 using these strategies on calls in a single week. He made that type of return. Dimitri, one of our top students, made $27,000 yesterday. We had one member who just commented on my channel saying he made $17,000 in the past 2 weeks. This is a strategy that will change your life. If you are looking to escape the matrix, if you are looking to trade the best setups at the best prices, if you are looking to get in right before that new trend is set and to stick to the trend, this is the right program for you. What I'm going to do for you is I'm going to coach you, man. I'm going to coach you. The members absolutely love it. If you look at the results, man, the members love the program and they are getting results and lives are being changed within this program. We do polls every single day along with the live trading voice channel, live trading stream. Look at this, man. The results we're getting are absolutely great. We had 34 people on a green day and we only had 6 people on a red day and 5 didn't trade. Guess what? The 6 people here with a red day, I'm calling you out. You didn't buy calls at the gap. That's the only trade I make. I'm going to continue to call you out. I will be tough on you because I know I have something that works and there's no excuse in terms of you not being successful in terms of this program and the value that we are giving. This all comes down to psychology and a mindset and being disciplined. Will you be disciplined enough to follow the system that works? Because I'm showing you how to do it, but will you prepare ahead? Will you trade the best setups at the best prices? Will you stick with the trend? Will you stick with the reversal strategy? Or are you going to start bouncing around once you start getting results and doing a bunch of different things that don't lead to your success? I know it works, and I'm going to coach you, and I'm going to lead you to the right path of that trend. I'm going to show you exactly when a new trend is set. Once that new trend is set, I'm going to show you how to take advantage of it. I was telling people, I was literally saying right here, when this was at 402.50, I literally said, this is going to be a great opportunity for calls. Some people took it. And it went to 405. And I said, this is going to hit $405 today. It's going to close strong at the highs. That was my prediction. This was all in the chat. People were amazed on how accurate I was. And people wonder, well, Will, how are you so accurate? It's because I'm making trades that are based off of the history of the chart repeating. And there's a way to confirm and there's a way to base a trading strategy, or you can confirm that that history is going to repeat itself. So if I make a trade based off of something that already happened, I will know exactly what's going to happen. That is how I was able to do that. And I capture trends and I capture patterns. The reason why I said this was going to hit $405 today is because the next resistance level was 405 if it were to break above highs. And the reason why I was so bullish is because of this 30-minute pattern. I tell people, use the 30-minute charts. You want to change your life? Use the 30-minute charts. It's unbelievable on how well this works. Look at this, man. Look at how unreal this pattern is on the SPY, right? Right here on the 30-minute candle, see how this looks bearish? Guess what it does? It spikes right back up. See how as soon as it fills the gap, it forms that same bearish candlestick like it did? Guess who bought calls into that 30-minute bearish candlestick? I did, because I'm well aware it can have a reversal at the previous resistance, at the previous top, because it had an overreaction to the downside, and it reacted bullish when it formed that bearish 30-minute candlestick on the pattern. Now, let me put you on to some more game. Look at this pattern on the chart right here. I called this out in real time. Take a look at SPY. This is yesterday. See the green, red, green? You don't even need to know the names of these candlesticks. Look at this. Let's just call it green, red, green. Green candle, red candle, green candle. What does it do after that? It spikes the entire day and closes strong at the highs. Wow, the same pattern just formed. Isn't that interesting? Green, red, green. It spikes for the entire day and closes strong at the highs. Why do you think I told people that I was going to close strong at the highs at 405? Because of that 30-minute pattern. That is the reason why. And you could have taken advantage of all these dips all day, man. We have a guy's up 10% today, another guy's up 2,000% on his account. We have people who are taking advantage of all these trades, man. I don't need to think. I trade the best setups, the best prices. I preach to trade the trend, and I preach to trade the best setup, the best prices. If you're trading on these higher dips, at least you're trading with the trend, but it's not the best price. It may be the best price for the moment, but the true best price is at the gap, and that's what I stick to. And then if it starts breaking above previous resistance and then it gets slammed right back down to that previous resistance, that's the new dip, and you buy the dip and you play the trend. Very, very simple. Buy the calls on the big dips, not on the big rips. Right here, there's resistance at 401.40. Well, if SPY is going to break out above 401.40 and it's having a gap close reversal and the trend's bullish, wait for it to get slammed right back down to 401.40. Buy the calls. I'm putting you onto the game. Right here, this is previous resistance at 402.50 to 402.60. If SPY's having a massive breakout above that to 403.50 and it gets slammed right back down to that previous resistance, the trend's bullish. Buy the calls at the previous resistance like I did at the gap. I am putting you on. Look, man, if you're ready to change your life, now's the time to join, man. This is the best trading community that we're going to have, man. And I'm telling you, we're going to do big things. As a collective, as a whole, we will have days where we generate $1 million as a collective. I'm telling you, it's possible. I know the numbers out there. I know within time, as the word spreads, as people recommend this group, as this channel starts to grow, as people become more successful, I know the numbers out there. I am well aware 100,000 people can join Trader Society. And if $100,000 people join this program within time, and they are disciplined enough to stick to what it is that I teach, and they follow the trading system, they follow the trading plan, on a nice green day, they're going to average in terms of a collective as a whole. Some people are going to make a couple $100. Some people are going to make a couple $1,000. Some people are going to make tens of thousands of dollars. And the people at the top are going to make six figures. As a collective, as a whole, you do the math. 100,000 people, $1,000 a person on average. On a green day, that's $100 million in revenue. That's enough to take over the world, man, and that's what I'm going to do. I am going to build the most elite, the most competent trading group, and we are going to trade the best setups at the best prices. We are dedicated to trading one simple gap trading strategy, and it's a 3-step plan. The first step of this plan is to master the gap trading strategy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to teach people how to use the strategy, and they will master the trading strategy. Once they master the trading strategy, once they get results, once they are successful, then I'm going to give them the opportunity, if they want, to tell their friends, and I'm also going to teach them, if they want, to how to grow a social media, how to start documenting your journey as a trader, how to teach other people how to trade right, and they're going to get a 50% commission for someone who joins Trader Society. Now they have two sources of income. They're making money while they're sleeping. And then the phase 3 of the plan is to leave the matrix. We're going to leave the matrix. We're going to join the real world, and we are going to be a very, very elite group, man. We're going to do life-changing things, man. I'm telling you, man, this is going to spread like wildfire. One day, you're going to see everybody using this strategy, and the people who don't use it, they're incompetent. The people not using this strategy are the same people who are buying calls at the top, who are impatient, and they're selling pennies on the dollars for a massive loss to the people like me, the sharks, who are patient and wait to get into the best entry. That's the difference between Trader Society and where most people are at, right? That's how you trade the best setups at the best prices. I'm on a 3-step plan. The first step is to master the trading strategy, to improve it. We're going to create software. There's going to be hours. We're going to do big things with this strategy as a team, right? And then we're going to make people successful. Once people are successful, once they're getting results, we're going to spread the word. And I'm going to give them the opportunity to make a 50% commission off of every sale they make, off of every word that they're spreading. And if they like, I will teach them how to grow their social media. I will teach them how to create a bigger source of income where they're not just telling their friends. If they like, they actually become a better trader by documenting their journey. If you look at what I'm doing, I'm simply documenting my journey. all of these videos that I make me a better trader. In my experience, teaching other people how to trade has made me a better trader. It's made me more accountable. It's made me more disciplined. It shows me exactly what I'm supposed to be doing because people are watching me and I know I have to perform with competence if I want to do well and I want them to do well, right? So if they're documenting what they're doing and then those people are getting results, those people are then going to join the program. They'll get a 50% commission. And then those people tell their friends, and I'm going to show them how to grow their social media. If they want more than just word of mouth and they want to actually learn how to grow a social media where they become a better trader as they're growing their social media, teaching others will make you a better trader. Making trade recaps will make you a better trader. Live trading, as I'm doing my live trades, when I'm done trading, I edit my trades and I post them on my channel. As I'm editing my trades, getting out the highlights of the wins, the losses, the mistakes, what I did right, what I did wrong, as I'm rewatching my live trading footage and editing it to help other people as well, guess what? I'm becoming a better trader. I am analyzing everything that it is that I'm doing before I make the trade, as I make the trade, and after I make the trade. After I make the trade, I do the recap, I do the live trade, I go over the live trading footage, post the live trading video. Everything it is that I'm doing is making me a better trader. And all I'm doing is documenting my journey. I'm not marketing. I'm not flexing a lifestyle. I'm showing you what it is that I'm doing to make money. And then I'm going to have people promote that. They're going to become successful. They'll teach other people how to do it. And they're going to be in a situation where they have two sources of income. Not only are they making money when the market is open, but if they like, they can make money in their sleep. Someone can buy a sell at 3 a.m. We had 10 people join Trader Society yesterday between the hours of 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. when I was sleeping. That's passive income. And if I enjoy teaching and I enjoy, profiting off of my passion and I enjoy changing other people's lives and doing what it is that I'm doing, which is documenting my journey, makes me a better trader, why wouldn't I do that? In terms of my strategy, this isn't time consuming. This is very passive. This doesn't require a lot of time to do, right? I spend more time preparing, which isn't a lot as well, than trading. I'm a scalper. I get in, I get out. And then from there, when I'm done trading, I teach other people how to do it so they can become successful. And not only do I want that, the third step is, as a collective, as a whole, we will be successful. Can you imagine a group of successful traders who are consistently doing the same thing over and over again, who are the best at that one thing? We will be in situations where the people at the top, we're going to be on yachts. We're going to be on jets. We're going to be doing big things in the future, man. You got to dream big and you got to understand the opportunity that's in front of your eyes. The past 5 days has proved it. You don't believe me? You're not watching the videos to the end. You're not watching that playlist link down below. So look, man, I'm trying to surround myself with a network. This community alone has changed my life, and this is something that I've needed. I needed to surround myself with people who are striving to become the best at this strategy. That way, once we become super successful, some of us already are, right? But once everyone really starts to become super successful, as a collective, as a whole, we can do big things together. We can go on crazy vacations. We can do very extravagant things. We can live it up, man. So let's do this. Let's take over as a whole. I want to surround myself with a competent trading group. I want to surround myself with people who are trading the best setups at the best prices. I want to surround myself with powerful people, men and women who are successful, who are striving for more, who are doing what they're supposed to do, who are disciplined, and who are on that path to living a very good life. So with that being said, it's the first link down below in the description. That is my 3-step plan for Trader Society, and that is going to be my mission. With that being said, if you want to join, it's the first link down below in the description. One-time fee, lifetime access, live trading, Discord, live trading webinars. It is all within there. With that being said, you get started as soon as you sign up. It's instant lifetime access.